So today we begin a new one, which means that you can take it anew. If you didn't do well or you didn't focus on Descartes, besides today's session, please keep it quiet. You can really do well on Spinoza. You don't need to know Descartes to do well on Spinoza. So, now Spinoza, I hope you'll Google him. You'll see his pictures and stuff like that. Spinoza is a different character from Descartes as a character. Spinoza used to be a bit of a marginal. He used to live alone on the side. He didn't have acquaintances from the royalties like Descartes did. Descartes is a philosopher that was among the queens, kings, and stuff like that. He was very famous in his lifetime. So you see, he's a bit like a powerful figure, Descartes. He was quite famous and recognized. Spinoza, he was recognized, but really in a kind of underground. He was not part of the official doctrine at all. Actually, they used to burn the books of Spinoza, and it's a fact. You can read about it until recently, really recently, especially in this world, in the Middle East. Spinoza is not someone that we like. He's considered to be a witch, a kind of sorcerer, and of course, religious powers, they really hate Spinoza. You will see why in detail soon. Which is not the case for Descartes. Descartes is fine with God, science. He mixes both. Spinoza, no. Spinoza was really a kind of damned philosopher, and he never published because he knew that if he published, he will end up killed or burned. So this is the character. To add to his character, he was excommunicated from the Jewish community. So he was born a Jew, and the Jewish community decided that this guy shouldn't be a Jew anymore, and they really kicked him out. They stripped him from his Judaity. So he's, at least it's an achievement, if you can achieve that in your lifetime. You're kicked from your community because of what you think. This is what happened to Spinoza. So you'll see why in detail very soon. So this is for the character. Now Spinoza, when he was still not Spinoza, he was known to be the Cartesian specialist of the neighborhood. Back then in Europe, if you had questions about Descartes, used to call Spinoza, or used to go consult Spinoza or read, because he published one early book on the Cartesian system. You could read that. It was published because it's on the Cartesian system. He didn't publish the Ethics nor the other major works. So he knows what he's talking about when he criticizes Descartes. He was really like the specialist of Descartes. And Spinoza became Spinoza when in the Ethics he criticized Descartes by showing that there are many weaknesses, if you can call them like that, in the Cartesian system. And I hope here or today you will see how you criticize a philosopher. You don't say today's biology said that, hence it's not correct. If you want to criticize a philosopher, you have to criticize him from within philosophy. This is the least that we can say. You can't tell him this or that happened 1,000 years later, so it's not correct. I hope you're getting... So what is the critique addressed to Descartes? Now the critique addressed to Descartes is twofold, as you can see. He's going to criticize his notion of substance, and he's going to criticize his notion of perfection, meaning his notion of God. Now, as you know in Descartes, how do you end up knowing God in Descartes? Why do you know there is a God?
By doubting.
Doubting, and then what do you stumble on? What did we say? The idea of perfection. So if you remember your Descartes, we said that the real in Descartes is made of how many substances? I'm going to draw it to you. How many substances are there in Descartes? Is thought a substance in Descartes? Yes, so you have the substance, thought. Is God a substance? Yes, so you have the substance, God, or the perfect substance. And you have the substance, matter. Now you said that in Descartes, you are really like inside your thought. You touch this, it's a thought. You see, it's a thought. But God guarantees that all your thoughts do correspond to material entities. So you are the thinking substance, and you encounter thoughts, and in you have two particular thoughts, which are the thoughts of perfection that makes you conclude that there is a God, and the thought of matter that via God allows you to correspond your thoughts to what is outside of you, meaning matter. So you see, it's a three-parted structure. What is reality for Descartes? Reality is made of three substances: the material substance under the legiferation or the guarantee of God, the perfect substance, because you can deduce it by proportions of ideas from the idea of perfection, and the thinking substance, because of what we did, you were able to prove that you are a thinking substance, and that thought is the essence of the thinking substance. I hope this is clear. See, this is really like what you call an ontology. You look at that, you have a structure of how the real is, and with that you can now solve problems. How can you make theoretical physics theoretical physics? You sit in your room, you scribble on papers, and you predict what's happening in a black hole. How can you do that?
Just by thinking, not experience.
Just by thinking. And what guarantees that your clear thoughts are indeed the case? God, thank you. So theoretical physics is really under the guarantee of God. And this is why science for Descartes is religious. Meaning it's really like when you do science, you discover that there is a God, because what you think clearly is actually the case because of God. He's the one doing the guarantee. He's the one doing the correspondence between thought and matter. So with this ontology, you can do a lot of things. So I hope this is. So we said that really how do you encounter God? You encounter God first with this idea of God. And because you know that you didn't do this idea, you refer to God. Great. So is the idea of God God himself? Is the idea of perfection that you have, which is I want to be better, I want to do what seems to be good to me, all of these things, is this idea itself God? Is the idea of God God?
No.
For Descartes, no, for sure. Because the idea of God is an idea. And God is the perfect substance existing somewhere out there. So the idea of God is not God. So how do you know God? Spinoza says, this is when Spinoza is beginning, he says you know God via a sign. The idea of God is the sign of God, and actually Descartes says it literally. Descartes said the idea of God is the signature of God. The idea of God is the signature of God in man. And actually because God, after creating man, he stamped him with a signature, like a stamp, man since then, he just looks at the stamp and he wants to be better and better and better, and he knows that he didn't do, he is not the one who created the signature in himself. You know, it's like your iPhone, you know, it's written on it, who made it, it's the same. So we, who made us, you have its signature in us, which is the idea of perfection. And actually this is really what, for Descartes, is going to stretch you, to make you all the time try to be better, try to learn, try even to kill yourself if you want, it doesn't matter, but you are in this kind of perpetual getting out of yourself towards something which is for you what you consider is perfection. So you see, all your life is really like tensed by the idea of God. Now, it remains, Spinoza says, that this is a signature, it's not God himself. And if it's a signature, can you really guarantee that it is the signature of God? So Spinoza says, let's suppose you find a trace. Can you be sure that this trace refers to that person? Why not? You have a signature in you. What told you, what can guarantee that the signature is not made by the devil? Really, what guarantees that the signature of God, perfection, the sign, is not actually the sign of the devil, and each time all of this fuss about getting better, etc., is the work of the devil. Any guarantees? What guarantees that this sign gets you to God and only God? What should be the condition for that? There's one condition. Yeah.
Something only God can do.
It must be something that only God can do. It must be the sign of only God. So I repeat. It's very simple what I'm saying here. Let's suppose you see this in the sand. You see this in the sand. I'll try to draw it properly. You see this in the sand. Put another one here. You see this in the sand, okay? To which animal do you think this thing refers? No animal. So which animal, if you want to be nice with me, which animal can this refer to? A chicken. Okay, kind of bird. Okay, so you say, yeah, it must be a bird, but can you be sure that it's a chicken? No, it can be a bird, it can be an owl, it can be an eagle. You can't really be sure that this sign refers only to the chicken or only to etc. Unless you can really prove that this sign is really the proper of only the chicken. Okay? I hope you're getting there. This is clear. So if you have a sign, like the signature of God in you, and you want to deduce from the sign that it is indeed the sign of God, there is one condition, which is what? Only God should be able to make such a sign. It should be only his signature, the signature of no one else. Hence, perfection should be exclusively reserved to who? To God. Great. Do you have a problem now? If perfection is only reserved to God, what is the immediate problem? Can matter be perfect? No. Can thought be perfect? No. Do you get how he's thinking, sir? He said, if you know God by perfection, if you really want to know God by the sign of God, there's only one way to do that. There's only one rational condition. This sign must be exclusively reserved to God. It's clear? Now, if you say it is indeed exclusively reserved to God, what pertains immediately? Matter is imperfect and thought is imperfect. But are matter and thought substances in the Cartesian system? Yes. You have the thinking substance, the extended substance, and the perfect substance. Can you be a substance while not being perfect? What is a substance? Independent in the way you know it, and independent in its knowledge, in its presence. Okay? Can you be imperfect if you are absolutely independent in the way we know you and the way you are there? Can anything affect you or corrode you or deteriorate you if you are a substance? If you exist independently from anything else, can anything corrode you? No. So can you be imperfect? How can you be imperfect in a substance? It's an absurdity. So either you're a substance and you are perfect, or you're not a substance and you are imperfect. Okay? I hope you're getting what he's saying. He's saying, you know what? It seems that really on the level of the way Descartes is speaking, is using this concept, there's a problem. You can't be, in the same time, substance and imperfect. There's a contradiction when it comes to the way you understand substantiality. It follows that either there's only one substance and it is perfect, and hence thought and matter are part of God, and in that case we will see if they are modes or not. Or it follows that you have three substances and hence none of them is perfect. I hope this is clear what he said. So this is the first problem. Yeah.
You can't be imperfect and
Why?
You can be perfect in the part of the part that Spinoza is criticizing. You can perfect other things.
Yeah, but how? It's not a problem, it could be. See, the concept of substance that nothing can affect you and you are really like an enclosed entity. So the way you are only the what you are, and in that sense nothing can affect you, corrode you, and you can't lack anything, etc., etc. So the problem is here. If you want to prove that it could be imperfect, you have to be able to prove that you could affect the substance in a way. What you see is a problem. If you can't affect it in any way, you can't really destroy it or deteriorate it or make it imperfect. So in its kind, it's perfect. In its kind, it's perfect. Did you get the problem? Right? So this is one of the problems. So the second problem, which is immediately related to that, can God really be the creator of a substance? Can you cause a substance if you are an absolutely independent in existence and independent in the way we know you? Can you be produced by something else? If you are produced by something else, are you still independent? No. Okay, so Spinoza is saying, he's using substance in a bit lousy way. You see, you can't say God created thought, because if thought is a substance, it will follow that it's not a substance anymore. So as if God didn't create thought, all thought is not a substance, but you can't have both. This is what he's saying. Our conception of substance, our rational conception of substance, doesn't apply on both, or doesn't give both. I hope you got the first critique. It's not that complicated. If you have a sign, it must be exclusive. If it is exclusive, matter and thought are not substances anymore, which is a problem in the Cartesian system. And if perfection is common to the three, if all of them are perfect, can you know now if this sign belongs to God or to matter or to thought? So I repeat, you really have only two options. Either the sign is exclusive or it's not exclusive. This is easy. So either the signature pertains only to God or to God and something else. So if it pertains only to God, thought and matter are not anymore substances, and hence you have a problem. This is problem one. It's clear? Problem two, if you say, well, no, perfection is proper to God and matter and thought, what becomes the problem now? Huh?
The sign of God.
The sign of God is shared by three substances, thus,
Very common.
no,
We don't know where it comes from.
we don't know where it comes from. Maybe matter produces sign and us, and actually all our striving to perfection is because of matter and not because of God. Did you get the problem? So either the sign is shared or it's not shared. If it's shared, you have a problem. You don't know anymore if the sign is the sign of God or it's the devil, to make it easy. If it's not shared, the creation, God the creator, falls down. You can't have three substances which are all perfect and created. So I hope this is clear. It's clear? So you have a problem on that level. So you see that you will need to change this distribution if you want to understand the real conceptually in the problem. You have another problem. This is the first problem. You have another problem when it comes to the unity of perfections. So, unity of perfections. How did we know that God must have all the perfections in Descartes? Yeah.
The sum of perfection.
Yeah, why God should have the sum of all perfections, for sure.
Because it's one bed.
No? Yeah, you wanted to speak. Great. First reason, because if you don't have all perfections, are you perfect? No. Second reason. Anyone? We meaning the thinking substance, are not the one who makes the synthesis. Third reason. Proportion is to get out. Third reason. Yeah, why God must have the unity of all perfections and not many gods, let's say.
The unity of perfection is more perfect than
because the unity of perfection is more perfect than many gods having each one perfection. So I remind you the argument for those who didn't recall the argument. So we say that God must have the unity of all perfections. Why? Because you have two possibilities. We did already that. Possibility one, which is what you call polytheism. Polytheism is you have many gods, and each one of the gods puts in you one of these perfections. You know about beauty, about goodness, about justice, about intelligence, about equity, equality, whatever you want. Each God is going to provide you with one of these perfections. The other solution is that God has them all and He gives them all to you in one hit. Which one of these two options is the correct one? The second one, why? Because we know that there must be a unity of perfection, because the concept of perfection implies the unity of perfection. Is this one clear? You can't be perfect and have a missing perfection. Number two, if we know that there must be someone having the unity of perfection, and we know hence that the idea of perfection we have unifies perfection, it cannot be produced by any of the many gods. Is this clear? Because let's suppose I'm the god of beauty and he's the god of intelligence. I can't produce the idea unity of perfections. I can only produce the idea beauty, while the other god can only produce the idea intelligence. And hence none of us can produce the unification of all perfection. This is why there must be a God that unifies all perfection, because we know that we have such an idea by the proportions between perfections and the formal causes, or between the objectivity of the ideas and their formal causes. Is this clear? Okay? Now, so for Descartes, when you think rationally, when you really think rationally, you know by the rule of the proportion of ideas to their formal causes that God is one God having all perfections. Is this clear? Okay? And here Spinoza jumps again. Spinoza tells him, yeah, but how do you know that the perfections together, they don't contradict each other? I explain. Descartes says, obviously, proportion, God has all perfections. Spinoza says, yes, but what can guarantee that having all perfection doesn't limit or divide God? I explain with a mundane example. You know that when you are really good-hearted, sometimes you become stupid. You know this? No? Okay, so at least people say that. He's so good that he's a bit, people take advantage of him. You heard about that? So your goodness could sometimes lead to your, being taken advantage of, meaning you lose a bit of your credibility and intelligence. And some people say when you are too smart, you can become mean. Okay? So you have these kind of human take on perfections. So what if it's the same in God? What if because he's really beautiful, he can't really think anymore, or because he's really good, he's becoming weak? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know, but this is not a proof.
No, we can't compare him to.
Who says that? Descartes says God is all. Now Spinoza is saying, how do you know that when you're all powerful, all smart, all, your all intelligence will not conflict with your all beauty? Yes, but can you prove that there's no conflict between them? Descartes says, we know that, but he didn't prove that. Did you get the difference? He says, the concept of perfection must include all perfections. You have a very serious issue, because I give you the straightforward, now not the example, the rational demonstration. When you are a perfection, are you real? When you are a perfection, can you be perfect and not real? When God is when God is perfect intelligence, is his intelligence real? Yeah. To be a perfection, you must be real, unless you can prove that you can be a perfection and not real. But by definition, and given that Descartes didn't take the time to clarify these things, by definition and in the Cartesian system, a perfection is a reality, or a perfection encompasses in itself the fact that it is a reality. Because you can be a perfection and be a fiction. If you're a fiction, are you a perfection? No. If I tell you, okay, I have false ideas and false thoughts, and all of this is fictional, can all of these things I'm thinking about be something perfect? No. Okay, so what Spinoza is telling Descartes, he's telling him, you call these perfections, if you want the harsh straight line of the demonstration. If you say that they are perfections, it means that there are many realities. And if you say there are many realities, it means that God is made of many realities, and hence God is many and not one. So back to polytheism. Did you get the issue? No? Okay, so I repeat the demonstration. If you're a perfection, should you be real? You should be real. Great. If God has all the perfections, does he have then all the realities? Unless you prove otherwise. But so far, with the definition of perfection and substance of Descartes, when you say perfection, you have to say reality. Is it clear? I'm not saying there is no other options. Spinoza himself is going to propose the other option. But what I'm saying is this. If you define perfection as including reality, when you have all perfections, we should conclude that you have, or you are made of many realities.
Why not a perfect reality?
Because you should have all perfections. You're not only one perfection. You know, God has the 99 names. Goodness, powerfulness, wisdom, justice. They're not the same. To be just is not to be smart, it's not to be beautiful. Okay? So God has all the perfections, and we know by definition, unless you prove otherwise, this is what Spinoza is going to do, that a perfection stands in the metaphysics, until at least Spinoza, as a reality. All right? Hence, if God has all perfections, is he made of many realities? So he becomes like an envelope of gods, of realities. Because in philosophy, please keep it quiet, in philosophy we call a God a perfection. Okay?
Spinoza believes in polytheism.
No, he doesn't believe in that at all. This is just, he's criticizing Descartes. Spinoza, we have a whole month for Spinoza. So, did you get this critique? Okay? So, God is divided. He's not one anymore. You see, what Spinoza is saying is something very, very simple. If you say one and many perfection, it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? Because perfection means reality, and when you say many perfections, you're saying many realities, and hence you can't be one. Unless you can prove that a reality can have many perfections, and the perfections are not realities. Unless you can prove that. And this we didn't prove yet. I hope this is clear. Did you get the second critique? Okay? The second critique is, if you claim without demonstrating beforehand, that God has many perfections, this will entail that God is divided into his perfections. Unless you can really prove that the perfections of God don't divide God. Okay? Which means to be smart, beautiful, intelligent are actually not dividing God, but are in accordance with the unity of God. And this Descartes didn't. So when Spinoza told this, or this critique is before Spinoza reactivated it. When Descartes heard that, what was his reply? His reply was that anyway, in God, we don't know what is going on. Huh? Yeah, Descartes answered, we ignore the nature of God, and hence God could have many perfections and remain one. Which textually, meaning if you read the text and you are into these things, which textually proves that Descartes really did believe that to be a perfection is to be a reality, and there is a very strong possibility that the many perfections can divide God. Is this clear? Okay? You have questions on that? This is really like fundamental. You have to be able now to navigate in this language. Yeah.
Just to clarify, you mean because God can be just and benevolent, perfectly just and perfectly benevolent at the same time?
He can. He can. But you have to prove that he can.
He can.
He can. It's possible that he is super just and super benevolent and super everything under the conditions that you prove that when you have many properties, these properties don't conflict each other. You have to be able to prove that. And in the state of things, meaning when Descartes was writing, Descartes was saying to be a perfection is to be a reality. Hence, conceptually speaking, it means that you are many and not one anymore. Contradiction. Is this clear? So you can unless you prove. Yeah.
ليه عم نعملها هيك مش إنه بالعكس؟
How?
إنه أنا مش نحن هلا عم نقول إنه هو عنده كل perfections فإنه بصير distributed فبصير كأنه many realities and many gods.
So tell me, what is your solution, which is the inverse?
إنه بالعكس إنه هيك
مش هيك?
ما خلص مش
Tell me, what do you mean? You see, Descartes says,
ليه بدنا نعمل proof إنه ليه بدنا نعمل proof لهالشيء ومش
I hope you're getting what he's doing. You see, it should be really clear. He's saying, if you say unity of perfections, if you just look at the sentence, you have the concept of unity. Unity meaning you're one. Perfections means many realities. Now, in philosophy, and usually even in everyday sense, when you're a reality, you're really like not the other reality. I hope this is clear for everyone. So if you are a unity of realities, you're divided among these realities, you're not one anymore. So either you have to say he's one perfection, or you have to say he is many perfections, but not one. But you can't say both. This is a critique, at least he's saying critique. So if you say the way you were saying before, yeah, but we know in Descartes that he has them all anyway, we didn't answer this problem. We didn't answer the problem that now the perfections are dividing God. See, I know that Descartes says if you are perfect, you should have all perfections, and the unity of them is among these perfections. And so you have to be one and many perfections to understand perfection. It doesn't demonstrate that necessarily having all perfection doesn't divide. Okay? So you could be divided among your perceptions, your perfections. Yeah?
You could angle this reply, Descartes, how he replied.
You see, Descartes, if you remember his emos, the reply
to Spinoza.
Yeah, the reply to Spinoza, when Spinoza told him that, he told him, you have to prove that in God, the perfections don't divide God. I hope now this language is becoming clear. You shouldn't freak out, like, what is he saying? This language should become clear. So in God, the perfections do not divide God, meaning the many are not chopping him to pieces. Descartes replied, well, you know what, when it comes to God, he's so different from us that in him, you could have many, which is one. Now, you could like break your logical, human way of seeing things. Maybe for us to be good and smart doesn't work, but for him, what do you know? So he's referring, and this is textual, for those who defend Descartes, this is really textual. He's referring to ignorance. He's saying, because we humans we don't know, we're finite, we're just creatures. We only have the sign of God, but we never know what is in God. Our thought tells us that he must be one and many at the same time, even though we humans can't get this straight. Okay? So now here you have a problem again. What is the problem? If I tell you, as a conclusion, you know what, when it comes to God, he's so incredible that we cannot know anything. What can you now object to Descartes again? This is a very religious argument.
The clearness of,
Yeah.
if something is so clear, it must be true. So
Yeah.
it's clear to us that he's not one and he's divided, it must be true.
Yeah.
It's contradicting.
Exactly. So our reason is telling us, by our reason, it's saying he must be divided. So you can't then say, okay, we suspend reason now for a while, and we say that he's not divided because he's incredible. It's not rational anymore. You see, where is the contradiction now? The contradiction is that you claim on the ground of reason and the proportion of the ideas and the clarity of the ideas that you know something about God, which is that he must have all perfections. But also your reason tells you that if he has all perfections, he must be divided. So your reason is going against your reason. You can't then just suspend the whole thing and say, for God we'll make a kind of provision, a special status. Just for him, we will forget about reason for a while because, it's too complicated in this case. This is clear. So you see, what Spinoza is doing, he's just like going as close as possible to what Descartes is saying. Descartes is saying, you have three substances. He tells him, hey, there's a problem here. How can you be three unsubstances, meaning three perfect? If you are three perfect, we don't know anymore the sign of perfection, or we don't know anymore if the sign of perfection is standing really for God. And if you say the sign of perfection stands only for God, these two are not substances anymore, so you have to say something else. So it's either or. I hope this one is clear. The second one, when it comes to the unity of perfection, our reason tells us that he must have them all, but our reason also tells us that if he has them all, he's divided. Contradiction. Okay? So this is the first critique. I hope you're getting that these critiques are not just in Descartes. If you take the religious mind, or any religious thinking, you always have this duplicity. Spinoza, I remind you, he was kicked out from his religious group. So he really confronted and maybe suffered from the religious way of thinking. And the religious way of thinking is, as you say, ambiguous. It has two sides. Why? Because religions claim that they follow the order of reason. What they command is rational and good, etc. And at the same time, on the other hand, there are some things that you will never know and can't understand, which is the source of your reason. So you have this kind of duplicity. So the origin of all your morality, reason, etc., is absolutely unknown, while this absolutely unknown, above reason, almost irrational, must ground reason. And you have this kind of tension inside the religious way of thinking. I hope this is clear. Okay. So this is for the first line of critique. Second line of critique, the critique of substance. So the critique of substance goes as follows. First, what is a substance? I write them here. What is substance?
So being that is independent from essence.
So it's independent in presence and independent in essence. Thank you. Now, in philosophy, you have three words. It's not too much. Only three words. You have substance, you have mode. What is a mode? Substance is independent. Mode is dependent. Can you give me an example of a mode? So let's see. If you take white, is white a mode or a substance? It's a mode. What does it depend on for it to be present and for us to understand what is white? What does it depend on, the color white, to be present here?
Substance.
Light, or make it easier? Like what? The wall, thank you. You see, white depends on the wall to be here. Can you have white without the wall? No. Now, to understand what is white, do you need to understand something before white, such as matter, extension, occupying a space? Yeah. So you see, white is dependent for it to be here on the wall, and it's dependent for us to understand what it is on the concept of, let's say, matter, to make it easy. Light is the same. Okay? You can say that white is a wavelength, so it depends on the wavelength. Okay? This is what you call a mode, and this is what you call a substance. Let's do it again. Is Socrates a substance? You say Socrates is walking down the street. Can Socrates exist independently, spontaneously? Can you say this is Socrates, he exists? Is the wall a substance?
Yeah.
Thank you. Is Socrates a substance? He was, yeah. Okay. Am I a substance? Okay, I'm a substance. You're a substance. At least this is spontaneous. I will see if this is correct. But spontaneously, you look like an independent existence. And what is a mode for you? Is your weight a mode for you? Let's say 70 kilos. Does that exist without you or with you? With you. Brown, is it a mode or a substance? Does it exist without you or with you? Mode, thank you. Can you say, as I've already said, 70 kilos are walking down the street? No. So 70 kilos is not a. Can you say Socrates, even if he's dead, he's walking down the street?
Yes.
Yes. Can you say the wall is white? What is substance in this case? The wall. Okay? So you see, modes are really dependent on substances to be here and to be understood as what's there. And the last one is what we call attribute. Attribute is the way we understand the essence of something. What is the attribute of man? Thinking and animal, if you take the Aristotelian order. Can you be a man if you're not alive and thinking? No. What is the attribute of a stone? Let's say heavy and something, which is like its essential properties. So what is the attribute? The attribute is how you understand what is the essence of something. Is this clear for everyone? Okay? So you have to think like that. You have to say the essence of something is that without which the thing cannot be what it is. So what is the essence of, let's say, a triangle? Three angles. Let's say a figure with three angles. It's a shape with three angles. What is the essence of a cube? The cube, it's a what? It's a solid with 6 equal perpendicular faces. This is it. Can you be a cube if you are not having 6 faces? If you have 6 faces, are you still a cube? No. If they're not perpendicular, are you a cube? You see, the essence is that. It's not the thought. The thought understands what constitutes the essence of something. I understand that what makes a man is his rationality and animality. This is why the essence of man is in man, his life and his reason. I understand that what makes a cube is 6 perpendicular faces, solid, hence these are the features of the thing itself. Okay? So I hope this is clear. Are these clear? Substance, mode, attribute. You see, it's not too much for a science. Huh? Yeah.
So when you said the contradiction of Spinoza of design, you mean that thinking and matter of modes in the second one?
We will see. We will see. So far, Descartes didn't say they are mode. He says they are substance. We will see that Spinoza will prove that they are attributes. We will see. So you see, it's not too much for a science. 3 words. Attribute, the essence of something. Substance, what exists independently. Mode, what exists in something else, dependent. That's all. You see, you don't have boson, protons, neutrons, gravity waves, curves of space-time. It's very simple. You have only these 3 words. Yeah?
There's something I didn't get substance. It's the same that we discussed before, right?
Yeah. Substance definition is to be independent. Mode's definition is dependent. Attribute definition is what points towards the essence. This is by Descartes himself.
Yeah. But we said thought is the substance.
Yeah. So this independent, hence it's a substance for Descartes.
Now, can we say that the ball is substance?
For Descartes, yeah. Because for Descartes, if it looks independent, and it's there, it can be a substance. We will see these problems soon. Okay? Don't worry, I'm not saying that Socrates is a substance forever. Just for you to understand what is a substance. A substance is really what is an independent existence, and independent is the way you understand. Okay? So now you have problems when it comes to understanding the substance. So Spinoza says, when you compare two substances, how do you differentiate them? Let's suppose you want to compare the thinking substance and the extended substance. How do you differentiate this from that? What makes this different from that? The attributes. Great. What is the attribute of the thinking substance? Thinking, which is, how do you characterize thinking? If you remember Descartes. The soul is the substance and it thinks, but how do you characterize thinking? What is the property of thinking?
Rationality.
No, this is a synonym.
Desire?
Huh?
Desire?
No, this is a mode of thinking.
It's the function.
What makes thinking different from extending? I've told you that here, if you remember. What's the difference between a thought and a thing? Can you look at this and look at it as if it's an appearance?
No, living.
Huh?
Living.
No?
You can't suspend it.
You don't break everything down. Proves that it's a substance.
You break everything down to appearances.
Yeah, what characterizes an appearance?
It's the being.
Thank you. Its being is its appearing. This is thought. If you feel that you are in love, are you in love for thought? If you feel cold, are you cold for thought? Does it imply that it is really the case outside? No. Okay? So, thinking is characterized by what we call intending, meaning the appearing is itself the being. And what is extending? Now we know. Extending, if thought is appearing is being, extending, appearing is not being. So in matter you always have more. You look at this, do you have inside atoms and things? Yeah, so appearing is not being. So you have two substances that we know of, and God the third one. We say that thought is really characterized by, the thinking substance is characterized by thinking, which is unextended, while matter is characterized by what? By extension, by occupying a space. You, when you think, do you occupy a space with your thoughts? Let's suppose you think about a watermelon. Does the thought occupy a space? No. When you see a watermelon, does the watermelon occupy a space
Yes.
under the guarantee of God? Yeah. So this is the difference. So you see, when you compare two substances, the attribute is the essence. Is this clear? The attribute is really taken as that without which this substance cannot be. So I repeat, the attribute is considered to be that without which the substance cannot be. Can you be the thinking substance without thinking? No. Can you be the material substance without extending? No. So you have, now be careful, you have two substances which are matter and the soul, to make it easy. What is the attribute of the soul? Thinking. What is the attribute of matter? Extending. Okay? So now let's look at the other case. Yeah?
What's the attribute of God?
He is perfect. Perfect. So, perfecting if you want. So let's now look at the other possibility. Let's compare now the substance to one of its modes. So let's compare, let's say, the material substance to something material. Is it clear what I'm doing? So first case, you compare matter to thought. Second case, what do you compare? Matter to a material thing. Is it clear? Can you compare matter to a material thing? Give me the name of a material thing. Show me a material thing. Thank you. This is a material thing. Okay? Now, is this a material thing? Yeah. So when you compare matter to a material thing, meaning to a mode of matter, will the extension still be an essence? I'll give you an example. If you take light, let's suppose this is light. And let's suppose this wavelength gives you white. It's clear, you have light and you have a wave, and it gives you the color white. Let's suppose you have another wavelength which is like that, and it gives you pink. Do you consider that these two wavelengths are light? Yeah. Do you consider that the extension of light is variable or it is essential to light? Is it variable? Can you be light and have different extensions? Yeah. And to be extended this way or that way are a way of occupying space, So as you can see now, here the extension is a way of light, it's a way of the substance, light, and it's not anymore its essence. Is this clear? So can the same substance have different ways of extending? Yeah. So matter seems to have different ways of extending, and hence, if the extension is variable for matter, it means that this thing called extension is not anymore that without which is invariable for the substance. This is clear. Okay? So when you take a substance and you compare it to something, you see that it can take different extensions, and hence these different extensions are modalities of the substance, and they're not anymore the essence of the substance. Okay? See what I'm saying? It's very simple. What's the difference between carbon and oxygen? Isn't it a way of distributing matter in space? Yeah. So what's the difference between pink, yellow, and blue? Isn't it different ways to occupy space? Yeah. So you see, when you compare a substance to something material, the extension is seen as a modality and not as an essentiality. I repeat. See, when you compare, do this thought experiment. When you compare thought to matter, is extending and thinking essential to thought and matter? Are they essential to thought and matter?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you say that matter is differently extended in blue or yellow or carbon and hydrogen, is now the extension itself the substance, or is it something different from the substance? It's different from the substance. But when you compare thought to matter, is the extension itself what makes matter matter? Yeah. But when you compare matter to what is material, is the extension itself matter, or is matter now different from the way it's extending? It's different. Did you get this difference? Okay. So I repeat it because it's very important that you get that. See, if you compare thought to matter, what do you see immediately? Is that you have an extending substance. So to extend is actually to be material. But when you compare matter to wax, to carbon, to wood, what do you think? Do you think that matter is itself the way it extends? No. Do you get that difference? I can't repeat forever. For those who wish, anyone wishes, I like repeat. Yeah.
To explain the special difference.
Huh?
Explain the special difference making this matter.
Yeah, but is the matter itself the special difference now?
No.
No. But actually, when you compare it to another substance, it seems that it is itself its difference.
Yes.
If you want to use this language, did you get the problem? Please keep it quiet. Yeah.
Matter and material substance, not the same.
Yeah, it's the same. So here what you're saying is that when you compare a substance to another, it seems that the substance, essence, and actually what it is its attribute. Meaning, what's the difference between matter and thought? One of them is intending, meaning it's not extending, and the other one is extending. One goes and occupies, the other one is just an appearance. So this is the main difference. On the other hand, when you compare one of them to what they produce in them, meaning to their modes, the substance itself doesn't seem to be any more identical to its attribute. It seems to be different from its attribute. So when you compare matter to, let's say, light, to the different waves, to the different contractions of light, the way of contracting is not itself the light. So you can be light and you can have different ways of occupying space, of being extended. And hence extending becomes a kind of modality of matter because it can occupy, it's one of its properties, how it is extended is one of the properties of matter, and hence it can occupy space to different degrees. And this is how matter can be diversified. Because the way you occupy space differently makes you a different material. If you occupy space as contracted, you have the pink material or hydrogen or whatever you want. If you spread yourself, you have white or oxygen or whatever you want. Okay? So you see here that matter becomes different from the way it expands, because the way it expands becomes its modality, it's one of its modes, it's one of its characters. And this character allows it to be different materials. Is this clear? Yeah?
يعني non-modality واحدة من الاتtributes.
In this case, the attribute, instead of being the essence, seems to be the mode. The way you understand matter now, you say matter is extended, but actually extending is just a way of being of matter. And not anymore extending is the essence of matter. So you have a kind of contradiction, you have a problem. Just pointing today to the problem. So if you say that matter is a substance and its attribute is to extend, you are using the attribute one time as the essence and one time as a modality of matter, which is problematic. So let's see the last one. So the last one, when you compare now the mode to the substance. So I remind you, you can compare a substance to another substance. When you compare a substance to another substance, the attribute appears to be the essential thing in the substance. Thought is intending, matter is extending. On the other hand, when you compare the substance to a mode, the attribute seems to be itself a mode, which is a problem. Meaning, you say that I have wax, and the way wax occupies space, and not anymore I have a substance which is itself to occupy space. I have light, and the way light occupies space, and not anymore the substance is itself the occupation of space. So you have now different ways of occupying space, which means that the attribute becomes the mode, and the way you occupy space diversifies the substance. The last one is when you think of the essence of a mode. What is the essence of this thing here as a material thing? What is the thing that without which it cannot be the thing? Huh? It is itself a mode. Let's suppose it's a material mode. You know the chair is in matter. So if you take this as a mode, what is its essence? What makes it what it is?
It's attribute.
Huh?
It's attribute. It's attribute.
Yeah, what is its attribute?
It's function.
What is that which without which it cannot be, this chair?
Wood.
Wood. What is wood? Is it matter? Atoms, are they matter? So what is the essence of this mode? Matter. And what is the essence of matter? Extension. But in this case you have to say it's the matter occupying a space, meaning the extension of the chair. And what is the essence of matter in general? It's also extension. So the essence of the mode becomes similar to the essence of the substance. I repeat. To be this chair, shouldn't you have these pieces of wood distributed in this way in space? Yeah. So what is your essence? It's the way your material is extended in space. So your essence, to make it sure, is extension. If you take now matter, what is the essence of matter, we said?
Extension.
Extension. So actually the essence of the mode, is it similar to the essence of the substance? Are they both having the essence extension? Yeah. Which is also a problem, because this you are saying is that what is absolutely necessary for the mode is not the same thing which is absolutely necessary for the substance. While the mode is supposed to exist where? In the substance and be dependent on the substance.
But then we're saying material is substance.
Huh?
Then we're saying material is substance.
So yes, there is a material which is the extended substance. Matter is the substance. Now the problem is that if you understand the things in matter in the same way as you understand matter, you have a problem. So these are the issues that we need to solve. Is this clear? Yeah? Do you have questions on that? No? Okay. So just for me to know, who is reading? Seriously, you don't need to be shy. Usually, who is reading after the course, the short readings, 5 pages? You're reading only one?
I usually not all, but something.
Do you read sometimes the readings at the end of the book? Yeah. Yeah, so there are. Please keep it quiet. At the end of the booklet you have reading. So are you able now to read Descartes? You should have read a lot of Descartes. Were you able to read Descartes? Yeah? Yeah, it's readable. Okay. Now for Spinoza, I'm announcing that for Spinoza the readings are really short, 1 page. Besides today's lecture, which is an essay on what I've said, you can read it to understand what I've said. Usually the readings in Spinoza are 2-3 pages or 1 page sometimes. Because Spinoza writes, as you will see, in a demonstrative way, which is really wonderful. I wish everyone did it like that. I mean, he really does the works that we usually do when we read a philosopher to transform him into a demonstrative chain. Spinoza writes his book already as a demonstrative chain. Which means you don't need to think of interpreting, understanding what he's saying, because he tells you this proposition relates to this one, and this one relates to that one, ergo, deduction, and he really exhibits the order of thought. Okay, so Spinoza is really someone who you can read, as he says, he has written his book via the geometrical order. His model was how to make a geometrical demonstration, and he did it on God. Okay? So, this is why I really hope that you are going to read this text, because after the explanation it becomes really straightforward and clear as a geometrical demonstration. I assure you. And if it's not like that, book an office hour, because it should be like that. There's absolutely no mystery in Spinoza. It's straightforward, to the point. So try to read Spinoza on this regard. Now, what we're going to do in Spinoza, as you will see next time, is keep it quiet. So what we're going to do in Spinoza, as you see next time, you will have 2 movements. You'll have a short movement, as we say, and this short movement is absolutely crucial for the rest of the month, even though it takes 1 or 2 sessions, because on it relies everything else. And the short movement that you have in your readings, that I hope you will read, is really made of 11 propositions. 11 propositions. It's not too much, no? It's almost 11 lines. Literally, it's 1 page and a half. Proposition 1 till proposition 11, 2 pages at best. So you have these 11 propositions, which are really like the backbone of the whole Spinoza system. Just to give you clues, Spinoza, he's the grandfather of Marx and of Deleuze and Nietzsche and a lot of people who are more known than him, but in these 11 propositions, you have really the foundation of this whole philosophical line, all of it. So if you understand these 11 propositions well, you will be very ascertain in your Spinoza. So why? Because these 11 propositions' goal is to establish that there's only one God and God is nature. I hope now you understand why he was rejected from his religious community. The goal of these 11 propositions is to say that nature is itself God. This is why Spinoza is known for what we call pantheism. Pantheism is the claim that, please can you move or stick to your computer? So pantheism is the claim that God is nature. Okay? And we see how Spinoza is going to be able to prove that God is nature, meaning you are living in God. To make it very blunt and simple, now you are sitting in God himself. Right? There's absolutely no difference between the world and God, which led to burning his books, etc. So this is what we are going to prove in the next sessions. After that, there are going to be a deduction of who you are, how you behave, why you feel, what you feel, etc., from the concept of God. So you have a line that goes towards the concept of God, and then a deduction from the concept of God of everything else. Everything else. Why you feel sad, what is knowledge, what is love, what is desire. Everything else is deduced from this fundamental proposition. Okay? So I hope that you will see how Spinoza is going to modify the ontology of Descartes. Instead of having three substances, you will have one substance in which you have everything, where thinking and extending are going to be essences of the substance and not anymore other substances. So we are going towards a monism of the substance, meaning there's only one reality, and you can understand this reality in different ways, which gives you the different other things. So do you have questions on that? Any questions? No? So for today, are these clear? Okay? The sign of God, exclusive, no more perfections for thought and matter, meaning they're not substances, maybe one reality. Common, it follows that we don't know who is God. Unity of perfection implies division, so thought contradicts itself, unless you can prove that perfection doesn't mean reality. The last one, if you compare substances, the attribute is essential. When you compare a substance to its mode, the attribute is diversification, meaning it diversifies, it's a mode. And last one, the mode becomes itself the substance because it shares the same essence with the substance. So please read for next time the reading. You have an essay on what I've said today. And next time we begin Spinoza, the demonstration.